Welcome to Wing and a Prayer Podcast, a podcast about Seattle Mariners baseball, also digging into other sports such as the NFL, college football, basketball, golf, F1, anything else that comes to my attention that I want to talk about. But mostly we're going to be focusing on this show about the Seattle Mariners baseball. My name is Andy Wing, and I will be your host. This is the absolute first show we've ever recorded, first show I've ever done, and I'm so excited to be here and just talk to you all. I created this show because, honestly, I just wanted to talk about baseball, and I've always had a long dream to be in media of some sort. When I was younger, I thought about being a play-by-play announcer, but didn't really know how to get there or do that, and that just didn't work out. But as time went on, I loved talking about sports. I loved talking about the Mariners, and I just thought maybe I should create something to put it in this open forum and talk about it. And, maybe in the future we can have guests on and talk about different topics and items, but I really just wanted to come here and share my thoughts and feelings with you all. And if you'd like to listen along with me, great. And I'd love that. On today's show, we are going to first dive into a little bit about my history as a Mariner fan. And then we're going to get into the 2023 season, heading into the offseason, and dive in a little bit about the details around that. And then we'll spend some time on this upcoming season. They're at spring training. They had their first game today. Excitement abounds, and we're going to spend a little bit of time digging on that. So I hope you listen along and enjoy the show I have prepared for you today. I know I'm excited to be here. Let's go, Mariners. I'm so excited to be here today and get this project really kicked off the ground. I've been talking about this maybe with a couple friends of mine for over a year now, and just sometimes it's hard to get over that hump to get going, but I finally decided to buy the equipment and really get going, and here we are. So my background as a Mariner fan begins when I was 6 years old. My grandpa had season tickets or weekend season tickets to the Mariners, and he lived up near the stadium in Seattle, and I lived in Oregon. And I got to come up, in the summertime and spend a week with him, and he would take me to a full 3-game series on the weekend. And I remember the first game I went to was in 1991 against the California Angels. I was 6 years old, and the reason why I remember it, because Alvin Davis was playing for the Angels, and it was his return to Seattle, and it was a big deal. And when I looked back when I got older, I realized the only season he ever played for the Angels was 1991, then he retired. So that's how I got started. I went to the game, and my grandpa bought me a jacket and bought me popcorn, and from then on, I was hooked. And that's partly to do with the team that they had then. Getting to see Ken Griffey Jr., Randy Johnson, Edgar Martinez, Tino Martinez. Just what kid does not get absolutely hooked? And I'm a loyal guy, and I just stuck with it ever since. Now, who knew that after those first years, they'd make the playoffs and then have misery for 20 years. But through it all, I've stuck with the team. I follow it religiously. I'm an optimistic person, and I always think they're going to make a good deal or a move or have the season they're going to break out and have a good year, even if it's not the best. And even if they're not good, I follow along to see what's coming next, and hopefully they'll get better. So that's my background with the team. Like I said, I wanted to create this to really just talk about things going on behind the scenes and have an open forum discussion about that. So that's my whole goal. Like I said, we will interweave other topics into this, but I just really want to focus on the Mariners. So thinking about Mariner recent history, 2022 was a fantastic season of breaking the drought. Cal Raleigh's home run to send them to the playoffs. Even their playoff run was amazing. They got ousted by the Astros, but they played them tough, played them tougher than any other team. Went into the offseason thinking we're going to build on this team and make it better. And did that happen? No, not really. They added a couple little pieces here and there, but not anything that anybody was excited about. And pretty much every player they brought in was cut before the end of the year, and it was an absolute failure. And then they missed the playoffs by essentially one game. And that left a terrible taste in everyone's mouth and really hungry for what is the team going to do next. And with that, the 2023-2024 offseason arrives. We had been promised all along the team is going to increase their spending, their budget. We're going to go after, get this team better. We're going to make bigger moves. And then what happened shortly into the offseason? We're told that, they don't have as much money and they're not going to pursue some of these big name free agents. And the most notably is Shohei Ohtani, which he was here for the All-Star game. Fans are chanting his name, saying, come to Seattle, come to Seattle. He trains here at times. It just seemed like a logical fit, the best free agent to come on the market seemingly ever. And then we find out they don't even attempt to pursue him because it was going to cost too much money. And that had raged fans, and even myself, like, why not even try? Why not have the conversation? And to me, the problem with that is you may think to yourself, spending $70 million a year for a player like that is just too much capital for somebody that can get hurt or problems arise there. But the fans that he would bring and the value that bring to the franchise, to me, is insurmountable. That value that Shohei Ohtani would bring would more than make up for the salary that he would cost. And there's no other player that can do that. But sometimes I feel like these owners, especially the Mariners, shockingly, get a little short-sighted in how they view it. And they think, well, it's just expenses and revenue in the short term. But don't you think if we had Shohei that stadium would be sold out most every day? Seattle is an event town. And when those tickets are hard to come by or fans are filling it up, they all of a sudden are a lot more expensive. And then they're a premier ticket, though, people show up. And so you don't think if they could sell 3.5 million seats a year plus charge more for everything, that wouldn't make up for the cost? Well, no, that didn't happen. So the management got told you need to reduce salary. And so what happened? They traded away Eugenio Suarez. They traded away Jared Kelenic and Marco Gonzalez, and they just shedded salary. And all the moves they made initially sure seemed like they were just shedding salary and getting worse, because everything they did was, hey, let's make the team worse. Let's get rid of players, even players like. But digging into it a little bit closely, you can see that they were actually walking away from players that struck out a ton. Eugenio Suarez, Teoscar Hernandez, Jared Kelenic. All were some of the highest strikeout rates among batters in Major League Baseball. The trade initially that puzzled me the most was the Jared Kelenic trade. So they sent Evan White and Jared Kelenic and Marco Gonzalez together for a couple minor league pitchers. And it turns out, though, that as soon as Atlanta got both of those players, they traded Marco and they traded Evan White for like minor league prospects back. So that tells me, why couldn't the Mariners have traded Marco and Evan White individually and then kept Jared Kelenic? It honestly tells me that maybe there's more to the story with his inability to really improve a ton. His issues last year, kicking the water cooler and being out, like maybe they just wanted to walk away and move on and go in a different direction. Which, if that's the case, I'm honestly okay with it. It's just the optics when you trade all three of them together and then Evan White and Marco then get shipped out separately for like meaningless minor league prospects. It just tells me, why couldn't you have done that and then maybe gotten more value for Jared Kelenic? Instead, it comes across like you're trying to pool all these resources together because you had to like give Jared Kelenic along with Marco to trade his salary, and that's just not the case. I do understand, though, when they traded Eugenio Suarez, he's a great vibe, clubhouse leader kind of guy, but if you look at his numbers, they deteriorated year over year, and his strikeout rates were through the roof and struck out over 200 times. And I totally understand the team wanting to go into a more contact and better approach, because I think the way baseball is going, that's just what you have to have on your team. But anyway, these first several moves were like, what are they going to do? Like, they're just getting worse. They're not going after any of these free agents. And when Shohei signed with the Dodgers, it seemed like the floodgates were going to open with free agency. Now, when I looked at this situation, was I frustrated by the trades? Yeah, to some degree. But I really try to keep an open mind that I'm just going to let the whole offseason play out before I make a real determination. And I just would pay attention to it every day, like what's going to happen next? Are they going to go after these 8 free agents? And oh no, are they not going to spend money and these free agents are going to sign elsewhere? Well, guess what? Most of the big free agents still haven't signed. Not most, but several of them still have not signed. Like Blake Snell is still sitting out there. Clearly, no other team wants to spend that money either. And so then the Mariners go out and they make a small free agent addition by signing Mitch Garver. And I actually like that move. I think he creates some stability at the DH position. He has power. He consistently puts the bat on the ball. And as long as he can stay healthy, then that, I think, is a great signing. Now, as you'll see in the theme of the players they're bringing in, the if factor of staying healthy is quite the large factor we have to rely upon. But with Mitch Garver, he was a catcher primarily. Not primarily, but kind of split between DH. And him being a catcher leads probably to injuries. And I think him being a DH is going to give him a better chance to be healthy most of the season. And then after that signing, they trade Robbie Ray away, who's injured and have no idea what he's going to be like when he comes back. And they get Mitch Haniger back. And to me, that was a win. You trade from a position of strength, pitching, which he wasn't a strength because he's on the DL and just really hasn't been as great as we hoped he would be. And then you get Mitch Haniger back, who's been a proven success here in Seattle. He's had his issues injury-wise, and he may not last the whole season, but he is somebody that has shown the ability to be a leader here and have success. And I think any Mariner fan's like, well, of course he's going to be successful here. But he's got the if factor too, if he's going to be healthy. And so I think that is going to be a great opportunity, but we'll see where that plays out. Luke Raley, they traded for him, but only having to trade away Jose Caballero to get Luke Raley was a home run for me. I don't even care if Luke Raley isn't an all-star or plays half the time. Caballero was decent on the bases, but to me, with the bat in his hand, he was nothing special. And so getting Luke Raley to fill out the outfield was a good addition. And then they went and traded for Jorge Polanco. And to me, that was a great move. He solidifies second base. He's been a consistent bat and been a great player for the Twins. And it gives them just a chance to lengthen their lineup, have more consistency. And I really believe that Jorge Polanco will be a good player. Now, he's got the injury concerns as well. But I just, optimistically hoping that he'll be a consistent second baseman who hits great in the middle of the lineup. Now, I know we're a little all scarred from the last two second basemen they have brought in, and it's been mostly a failure, but I think third time's a charm, folks. I think this will be a good fit for us. So Jorge Polanco, I think the middle of the lineup allows people like Mitch Haniger and Ty France to hit 7th, 8th. I mean, those guys were a 3rd and 4th in the lineup just a year ago. So I think this really gives us the best opportunity. And then when they go get Gregory Santos for nobody, and he's another dominant arm, and I think the Mariners have proven, one thing they've proven is they can take guys that other people don't think have a lot of, ability, and they can turn them into rock stars. And Gregory Santos was good last year, and I think they can even make him better and capitalize on what he does well. And the biggest question regarding their bullpen this offseason was, how are they going to replace Paul Sewald? Well, this Gregory Santos trade absolutely replaced Paul Sewald. Paul Sewald was great here. He did awesome. I absolutely miss him, but they've shown the ability to develop, and with Gregory Santos coming in and what they have in place already, I truly believe they'll develop that and other players to fill those spots, and they'll have a great bullpen again. Now that we're in spring training, looking back at the entirety of the offseason and maybe a couple moves still to go, I actually am pretty happy with how it's shaken out. Now, do I wish they'd gone and spent some more money and maybe went and got a Blake Snell or a Cody Bellinger? Yes, but given what leadership Jerry Dipoto, Justin Hollander were given, telling reduce payroll but get better, I think they've accomplished that. I think they've gotten the players that they could get with the money that they had, with the trade capital that they had available to them. And I think they are better. I mean, there's a big if factor with the injury concerns, but I think they've got enough depth that they can deal with some injury. And they also got guys waiting in the wings that maybe can step up a little bit. And with this pitching staff, and we're going to look at that in a little bit, but with this pitching staff they have a great chance to be successful. So, and have a great year and make the playoffs again. And I just, overall, looking at it, again, disappointed they didn't spend money, but overall really happy with the decisions they've made to get us to this point. And actually, I'm excited about the season. There was a point in this year earlier on where I was kind of singing the blues of, I don't know if I'm going to watch, and I'm pretty upset by this, but, I try to be optimistic and just look at the whole picture. when we get to the season now. And I really, overall, I'm pretty happy. So, and there's opportunity to make some more moves during the year and I think still get better. But I think what we discount heavily is they still have a young core that has a chance to improve, step up, and get better. Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, they're all their starters that are young. They all have a chance to really step up and take it to that next level. And that's really what they need. If Julio is an MVP player, they're a playoff team. Simple as that. So looking forward to this year coming up, again, just like I hit on just shortly ago, I really believe they have a chance to make the playoffs. They're really strong. I think they have a great shot to win the division. I think they have, to me, the best starting five pitching. Now, health is always a key factor when it comes to pitching. We all know that rarely do starting five make it to the season. Somebody's going to get injured. Hopefully it's minor, just miss a start or two. But with that starting staff, the back end of the bullpen, and then the young core of offense that has a chance to step up, there could be no better team if they can put it all together. But, when you have the likes of the Dodgers that went out and spent a bunch of money, the Houston Astros, the Texas Rangers still are a formidable opponent. They just won the World Series. They're coming back. They have a great offensive team. Their pitching staff will be okay. It's gonna be a tough matchup this year, and this is gonna be a tough division. Still, I think they have what it takes to get there. Now they got to come together, be a team. But I really like what Scott Service also did this offseason, and through the turmoil and all the chaos, he went out and spent time with his stars, with Julio, and went fishing with Luis Castillo, and flew out to where they were to spend time with them and kind of update them where the team was. And I think that really helps bring cohesion to the group. And so I can see coming into this year, they're trying to create a good team. Now, free agents, we could list off free agents that have failed in a market. And so it's not always they go spend money means wins. And I think they're trying to do the best they can to bring in talent. Now, the way they've brought in talent, there's injury concerns. And so that's going to be, to me, the biggest thing. The injuries this year, can they stay healthy? Can they get 100 to 120 games from Mitch Haniger? Can they get 100-plus games out of Luke Raley? Can Jorge Polanco play 140 games? Can Mitch Garver play 140 games? And can the pitching staff stay somewhat healthy? Those are the biggest things, I think, because they have the talent, I think, to compete right now without injury concerns. And so if they can stay healthy, if they can put the things in place they need to do to win night in and night out, they don't need to score 8 runs a game with this pitching staff. But if they can get to 4.5 runs a game, I think they got a winning formula. And to me, they got to win 93 to 97 games this year to make a chance to make the playoffs, because other teams are good. There's other teams that have invested this year too, and they're going to compete to the end. Julio Rodriguez, I think, really has an opportunity to be an MVP type player this year. He himself said that he had a sophomore slump in 2023, even though he was 4th in MVP voting. He hit 30 home runs, stole 30 bases. But, at times he had one historic month, August, and other times of the year he was okay. And I think he realizes that. And as a fan, don't we all want your stars to be realistic of how their performance is and what they want to do and how they're going to grind to get better? And what he said there, it just rings music to my ears, that he was disappointed in his year, even though he was 4th in MVP and had a 30-30 season. And so if you're disappointed in that, that means you have even greater potential. I think he's a 300-plus hitter, 40 home run, 30 steal, 950 OPS type player. And so it's going to take a great year to do it, but I think this year he could do it. I think he's learning from how pitchers are pitching him, sliders away on 2 strikes. He's got to watch out for that. The high fastballs as well. But if he starts being a little more selective at the plate, he'll catch fire. And we've seen him when he catches fire. It is just he's the best player in the league. So I really think this year he's going to make a step forward and get better. Cal Raleigh has slowly ascended. If you look at the last 2 years, when he hit 27 home runs at a 211 batting average and 284 on base percentage. In 2023, he upped it to 30 home runs, more RBIs, average up to 232 on base percentage, up to 306. Last year was his second full season in Major League Baseball, and I really think he's ascending. He's getting better. And I think he'll have his best offensive season this year. He could hit, if he hit 250, hit 35 homers, and hit 35 doubles, I think that'd be an awesome year, especially for a catcher. Ty France. Ty France has never really spent any time working on a swing or talking to hitting coaches, seemingly. It's what, anyway, I've heard. And, he's always just relied on his pure talent and skill, which has carried him a long ways, got him into the major leagues. He's been a consistent hitter, just guy hits. But last year and a half, after some injuries, I think he was trying to make up for the fact he was injured, and he started swinging at bad pitches, started chasing, was seemingly a little bit late, and he's slow on the base paths. I mean, just everything was descending. And honestly, for a guy of, I feel like his size and playing first base, for the lack of home run power that he has, it just doesn't work. So to see him go to Driveline this year and commit to, okay, I got to work on myself, I got to get better, let me let these guys help me out. And seemingly, we'll have to see, but it seemingly has worked. I mean, we'll see how the numbers play out. And it's premature to say it's worked, but I mean, his first at bat this spring, he lines a double down the left field line. And so I know it's all fun and games just to be like, it worked, but still, it's pretty exciting to see. And it's just exciting to see him put the work in. And it's seemingly what they showed on, Instagram was awesome. So, I mean, we saw what it did for JP last year. His numbers boosted up a lot and getting that outside help. And so I'm excited to see what Ty France brings to the table. And if we can get a healthy Ty France, that's going to do wonders as well. A healthy Ty France, it puts up 285 average, 20 home runs, 80 plus RBI. That's what we need from that position. And JP Crawford, if he can duplicate his season last year or even get close to it, he hit 19 home runs, 35 doubles, 265 average, 266 actually. And then was the league lead for walks from your shortstop. If you can get even close to that again, 15 homers, 30 doubles, 85, 90 walks, I think that's a really successful season. Now, the interesting part about JP for me is he's won a Gold Glove, and yet last year's he was rated as one of the worst defenders. And I don't think it's because he makes a lot of errors. It's more to do with his range. But I don't know. When you watch the games, I don't really see that. I still see an elite defender. So it'll be interesting to see how that shapes out this year. But I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table for the team. Hopefully, if he can put up 85, 90% of what he did, maybe hit for a little higher average, that would, optimistically speaking, that would be a great scenario. Some big question marks the team's going to have this year is really third base. Josh Rojas and Urias, who they traded for, are going to platoon that position. And Urias already is having some shoulder issues in camp. So, who knows what's going to happen there. There's been a lot of talk this offseason of should the Mariners get Matt Chapman? I struggle with that one personally. I mean, we traded away Eugenio Suarez because he struck out too much. He had descending numbers. He's 32 years old. And so, I don't know, to give Matt Chapman even a 3-year contract, he's 30 years old. He strikes out nearly as much. He's maybe a little bit better defender, but Eugenio was an elite defender in my opinion. So are you getting the same player by spending more money? And isn't that what you exactly tried to get rid of? But you also have to look at, by trading away Eugenio, they don't really have a solid option there. And so maybe getting somebody like Chapman would just give you a solid person you can plug in there day in and day out. He can hit 7th or 8th in your lineup, and then hopefully have an offensive bounce back season. That's a lot to hope for, though. I mean, he had a great April last year, set the world on fire, and then fell off a cliff the rest of the year and end of the year, hitting 240, 54 RBI, 17 home runs, and 165 strikeouts in 140 games. I mean, to me, Gino had a better year than that. So, and the other thing, too, is Chapman did that in Toronto, which is a much better place to hit. It's a domed environment. You should hit more home runs. You should have a better batting average hitting your home games there. And in Seattle, we all know this, April, May, it's not a great hitting environment. Players complain about it. So if we sign Chapman, he comes here, he's going to hit 197 and have a bunch of strikeouts and 2 home runs through partway through May, and we'll all be freaking out. So I'm fine with, honestly, just the more I talk about this, the more I'm fine with just keeping the platoon and figuring it out. Now, if the platoon doesn't work, we could always go make a trade and try to get somebody. I'm sure Nolan Arenado is going to not be very happy in St. Louis when they're 10 games under 500 partway through the year. I don't know, but maybe that wouldn't work, but maybe they could. Who knows? So I'm fine with them rolling with the platoon and just trying to see if make it work and play the matchups and, try to make it happen. Our outfield platoon, most likely left field. I think Luke Raley probably bounced between left field and first base, backing up Ty France, and then switching with like Dom Canzone out in left field or even maybe some right field. I don't really know a lot about Luke Raley, seeming like he had success when he's on the field, but he has some injury concerns. I think also Dom Canzone is so young, we don't really know what we're getting. He had some monster home runs last year, but he also struck out a lot too, and I don't know, didn't always look like he had a lot of promise. So that's also a big question mark, and so we'll see. I mean, I think they'll just go with the hot hand, whoever's playing well. And so left field's going to be a question mark. But when has left field not been a question mark for the Mariners? I mean, I know some of you may think of a specific situation, but like right field's always been our solid, right? Jay Buhner, Ichiro, center field, Ken Griffey Jr., Mike Cameron, now Julio, and think about all the other center fielders we had. But left field, like, it's just a litany of guys that have come through there trying to fill that spot. And it's never just been a solid guy for 3 or 4 years. Even, Mitch Haniger is a right fielder. So I feel more confident with Mitch Haniger. It's just more of, will he stay healthy? So I think left field, it's going to be a question mark. I mean, there's several question marks. So like I said, health is the key. Health is the thing that is going to carry us through. If not, hey, this may not go as well. But on to the pitching staff. Pitching staff can carry teams. Like, a team like this doesn't need to score an insane amount of runs when you've got a dominant pitching staff. Now, they got to live up to the bill, right? Everything's on paper now. Nothing is for sure. But their starting staff has got 5 guys that can go toe-to-toe with anyone. And they've got 3 guys that are on the top 10 potential Cy Young predictive factors. You got Luis Castillo, who's just the guy that's consistent. He still throws 98. He's got great stuff. I think sometimes his thing is he just needs constant focus to really bear down on hitters, and so sometimes he gets a little loose, and that's what I've seen anyway. But I think he's still going to be rock solid and give you 30 starts, 175 to 200 innings, 200 strikeout kind of pitcher, top the rotation. But I think George Kirby has the stuff to potentially be the ace of the staff. I think he's another guy that's young, coming into his 3rd season, having just completed his first full season last year, and he has made strides every step of the way. Hearing his story in the offseason, how he doesn't even throw to a catcher, he just throws to a 9-box net and just tries to hit spot after spot after spot, and he's like, that's how he focuses and trains. It's unique, and I love it. And I think little things like seeing him throw his knuckleball in the last start of the year and how dominant that pitch was, I can't wait to see if he uses that. I mean, I'm going to geek out over that if he starts throwing that every once in a while. But he's got elite stuff, and I really think he has what it takes to be an elite starter and have Cy Young capabilities. I might throw some money down to see if he wins the Cy Young this year. And then Logan Gilbert, too, another guy with great stuff and has the ability. I mean, all 3 of these guys touch 97 to 99 on their fastballs, got great off-speed stuff. A lot of them have added new pitches, such as a splitter, the knuckleball. And even the younger guys, Bryce Miller and Brian Wu, I mean, they got stuff, too, that they've been working this offseason, seeing some of the stuff they're doing. Man, your 4 and 5 starter to be that good? I know most in any other team would kill for that. So I think with that, and then the bullpen too, I just have faith the Mariners are going to figure it out. Even if guys are injured, they do a great job of developing, putting guys in right spots and just playing matchups to better than I think a lot of other teams. And so I really think they're going to be able to do what it takes to put together a solid bullpen, and then hopefully they can just stay healthy. I mean, like we've said before. Honestly, too, with the additions they've made for this year, and so even with some of the question marks, I feel like the depth they have, where you're not, right now, barring injury, you're not requiring or relying upon Dylan Moore and Sam Hagger to be everyday starters for you. They are fill-in roles, utility players, backups, which I think they are great backup and utility players. And every great team needs depth like that to fill in, take an at bat, fill in left field, fill in at shortstop, fill in at second base, back up somebody who maybe needs a week off or a couple days off. Every team needs good players to do that, but I don't think it works when you need those guys to play every day. And so to have depth in your lineup, depth in your core, even in the minor leagues now, I feel like we have more depth to bring up and fill in spots when needed. And so I think that from that perspective, they're in a much better spot than they have been. Now, the one thing about the starting staff is the depth. They got Emerson Hancock really as their sixth starter in the minor leagues. They all have some other guys they'll develop, I'm sure. But like last year, they used 9 different starters throughout the year. And I sure as heck hope they don't have to have that many this year. But, they could need 7 or 8. So who are they going to pull from? What are they going to use? So that's something we can look at, pay attention close to, and talk about as the year progresses. Because it'll be interesting to see through camp who they're developing, who they're trying to give opportunity to. So that's some things I'll be paying attention to during camp. And that's kind of my look at the season so far. Some of the players, some of the positions, like what I expect to see. Overall, my prediction for this year, 93 wins. 93-69 is my prediction this year. I think that's what it's going to take to potentially win the division or at least make the playoffs. And that's what they got to do. None of this 87 win stuff anymore. Like, you got to get over the hump and win those tight games to get you 93 wins. They just got to do it. So I think they have what it takes. I think they will get there. That's what my prediction is. And I think division title this year. That's guys, I know some of you may be annoyed by that, but that's my optimistic nature. But I think there's data to back it up. In doing this podcast, I'm trying to put, I've always fashioned myself as a fairly level-headed fan. I'm not too emotional about things. I'm realistic, try to be down to earth about it. So that's kind of where my takes come from. I try to be realistic, but I know there's some bias optimism built into this. I mean, some of you are maybe like just 93 wins. They're going to win like 82 and be misery. So, I mean, some people are positive, some people are negative. Is what it is. I do have a bonus topic for you all, and that's how to access Mariner games on TV. I have a certain provider that I like to use, but they don't carry Root Sports. I switched to another streaming provider that does carry Root Sports, but I don't like the interface, and they charge a lot more. So we cut that earlier this year, and then we brought the other provider back, but now I'm going to have to switch again, and it's frustrating to me. Honestly, I wish they could get around the cable thing and just offer Root Sports as a subscription by itself, charge $25 a month or $100 and whatever a year, and say you can watch all the Mariner games through this app. I would do it in a heartbeat. I'm sick and tired of spending however much it is a month, $100, just essentially to watch Mariner games and then find all my other content through like Netflix and everything else. I don't know. It's just, I wish, I'm just talking about it because it annoys the heck out of me, but I wish they could figure that out for the fans. Make it accessible. You could charge money, but make it accessible. Major League Baseball's got to figure this out. No more blackout dates. Have some streaming service. Make it available, especially the fans that really want to watch. Make it accessible for me to watch the game. That's what I want to know. That's what I want you to figure out. I want to watch the games. Make it easy for me to do so. I'll even spend a little money to do it. But these blackouts and these, you have to go here and you have to go through this provider and that, is just ridiculous and it needs to get fixed. Well, this pretty much wraps up the first ever episode of the Wing and a Prayer podcast. This was incredibly fun to do. I enjoyed the process of putting this all together, sharing my thoughts and opinions with you all. This is going to expand. I'm going to do more. I'm going to keep doing it. I'll probably get a little bit better at it as I go along. But to kind of recap today, I introduced myself. We talked a little bit about my Mariner fan history, and then we dug into the kind of 2022 into 2023 seasons, and then spent some time on the offseason and kind of encapsulated that whole situation. And then we kind of looked ahead into this 2024 season. Spring training has started, and we kind of dug into a little bit about all the different positions and the question marks and what's going to be great about the season. So I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for this year, and I'm excited to keep going and talking with you all. Hopefully soon we'll have maybe some special guests. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll just create a special guest and argue with myself. So I've thought about that. That might be kind of fun. So anyway, thank you for listening today. Thank you for joining me along in this journey. And I'm not sure the next episode will come out, but hopefully within a week or two. But I just want to say thank you and have a great evening. That's all from now from Andy Wing from the Wing and a Prayer podcast.